Hey everybody, Pastor Scott here, offering some feedback based on our lesson from last week of Jesus and the Wilderness Temptations. It was an interesting story, wasn't it? I want to say thank you once again for engaging with the material. I know this was kind of some heavy stuff when we start thinking about temptation and all of that stuff around. A few things that I wanted to respond back to. One of the questions we asked is, when Jesus is faced with each temptation, what does he do? How does he respond? And you kind of gave me some different answers of like some of the things that he says, and that's all good. But the kind of the takeaway is that he quotes scripture every time. All three times when he's faced with it, he responds back with scripture. But what's interesting is that Satan actually does the same thing one time too. He also quotes scripture back at Jesus. So there's kind of this back and forth thing going on there. We also talked about Satan, of like, what do you think of Satan? Is Satan a real person or a real entity, or is Satan more of an idea, or is Satan kind of just a name for anyone who's opposing God? And we kind of had some different results, but everybody sort of seems to think, well, Satan is a real being who takes action against God, and I think so too. I definitely agree with that. There's different names. Sometimes we say Satan, sometimes we say Lucifer, sometimes we say the devil. Sometimes we have different names, but yeah, I think Satan is a real one out there. Some of the odd things that came up. One person commented that it's odd that the temptations are all featured in the first three Gospels, but not in John. That's true. But if you remember correctly, or if you think about it, that's true for almost every story from the Gospels. There are very, very few stories that are featured in all four. Now, there are a few of them that are present in all four, but most of the stories we have are not going to be found in all four. So that's not out of the ordinary for us. Just remember that each author of the various Gospels brought their own perspective and their own unique way of looking at things. So even though some of the stories are repeated in the various Gospels, not all of them are, and that's okay. Another person thought it was odd that in the midst of the temptations, the angels who seemed to be around didn't step in and do anything to help Jesus. And yeah, they didn't seem to physically come in and help, but maybe somehow they were helping. Now, this is a maybe. I'm not saying this is what happened, but maybe it was the presence of the angels that helped him remember the various scriptures that he used to kind of push back against Satan. Or maybe they helped him remember the truth about who he is, that he is the Son of God, regardless of what Satan might push. Now, I thought a little bit more about that, and I think I kind of mentioned this in the video end of the week, but it seems like the basis of the temptations that Satan is doing to Jesus is saying, like, if you are the Son of God, prove it. If you are who you say you are, prove it to me. Like, and I don't know exactly why, but it is perhaps something that we can relate to in that. When we think about the promises of the gospel and the claim of God upon us as children of God, sometimes we feel like, well, do I need to prove it? Do I need to do something in order to show that that's true, or to make something happen in order to show that that's true? And the truth is that no, we don't have to prove it. And Jesus didn't either, even when he was being tempted to. I think it is interesting to consider the fact that Jesus also struggled with temptation, and not just here, but as we mentioned, and there's a couple of other places, in particular in the garden right before he's betrayed, that he struggles with temptation too. It's maybe reassuring in those moments when we do, to know that even Jesus struggled with temptation. Now, he overcame it. We don't always do so, but the promise of forgiveness is still present there as well. So those are just a few of the thoughts that I wanted to share with you. A reminder that this will be our last of our online format, and we are moving back into our in-person format. This coming Sunday, we will meet at 9 o'clock in the conference room right next to my office. Be sure to wear your masks. Bring along Bibles if you have them. That will be helpful. I do have some, so that's okay. But if you have your own, that will be helpful as well. If you have any questions in the meantime, please let me know. But I look forward to beginning to meet in person again, at least for this back portion of our lesson plan. Thanks, everybody.